artifact you found appears to be one of many, scattered across the galaxy. If we can find more, we can unlock their secrets.
Okay, so Microsoft just had its version of E3, basically, and overall I was kind of disappointed in the show, because every time they had, in big, bold letters, World Premiere! It was an indie game. Like, every single time. It was getting really obnoxious. It was just like, oh cool, we already see some sort of cool like AAA experience, and it was like a little side-scrolling indie game. It's like, oh, kind of overmilked that world premiere intro. But there was some good things about that show. I won't say it was completely terrible, although objectively the Sony State of Play was far more entertaining than this was. However, Microsoft decided to end the show on a high note with their presentation of Starfield. And I was kind of skeptical of it going into it, especially since it's not going to be on the one system I have. And so it's like, yeah, but it started to win me over as I was watching. And yes, No Man's Sky has been thrown around quite a bit in terms of this game. There's a lot of elements to this like little demo we got that felt like No Man's Sky. Now that's not to say that's a bad thing, because I absolutely love No Man's Sky. And the one thing that Starfield does have going for it over No Man's Sky is it has a more grounded, realistic look to it than No Man's Sky's cartoonish feel. Not saying that the cartoonish feel is a bad thing, but I do tend to lean more realism over the cartoon feel. Not saying that No Man's Sky is great, it's one of my favorite games of all time. But that being said, I was still thinking like, okay, even though I like the look of this better, I already have No Man's Sky at home, and, you know, so I wasn't really being sold on it, although the gunplay did seem a little bit fun. I did like the movement, you get a jetpack, and the environments looked really great, but like I had this one question in the back of my mind. How is this going to work? Like, is this literally going to just be one giant open world map that you can go up into space and then back down? Or is it going to be like Mass Effect Andromeda, where, yes, you can land on planets, but you're just landing on separate open world maps? And so, that question was just constantly going through my mind throughout this entire gameplay demo. And, like, the story, they, like, hinting at, like, you find this, like, ancient technology, and it's like we've seen this story a million times before, so the story was doing nothing for me. But the only thing that was really doing anything for me was kind of like the locations. Like, they're saying you're getting the city you can go through, but like, how big is that city really? Is it just a very large settlement that has like a couple of buildings, like one shop, one restaurant, and that's it? That's the grand big city? Or are they doing something like Night City from Cyberpunk, where it literally feels like a giant expansive city? I lean towards the former, because that takes a lot of time, and even though they've been working on this for like 5 years, they don't have that much time to work on, especially with the point that's coming up soon. And so eventually they start looking at some of the better things that has kind of were selling me on this game, and that was kind of the customization option. So obviously you have like that Fallout 4 type of perk system. You got the special like pre-story system where if you choose one of like a couple options, people will say, hey, so you used to grow up on the streets or something like that. But, you know, the customization looked pretty good, especially with like the clothing, the suits. It looks like you have a lot of options with clothing, and Bethesda's always been very good about that. They've always been great about giving you a million options in terms of how your character looks aesthetically with clothing. And that's something that I would say probably Cyberpunk is a little bit weak on, is the clothing isn't as diverse as something you would see in Skyrim or Fallout. And so that customization looked great, and then they got into probably one of the most demanded features that No Man's Sky fans have been screaming for since they released the first Foundation update on No Man's Sky, and that is customizable ships. And Starfield is letting you customize your own ship, or your own Millennium Falcon, basically. And it looks really good. Like, it looks surprisingly addictive. Now, my one concern is this going to be very limited? Like, yeah, you can only have like 5 or so pieces that you can move around. Or are they going to let you go nuts with this? Are they going to let you make some really crazy, insane starship concepts? Or is it just like, yeah, you can kind of change the engine with one of these 3, and then you can have one of these 3 noses, and really there's only like maybe 20 combinations you can truly do? I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping that you really get, like, the sky's the limit in terms of what you can design. And so that was really intriguing me. But then that main question I kept asking is, like, how big is this game actually? What are we just getting? A couple of open world maps? Is it just one open world map? Like, what is this going on? And they end the evening with basically Todd Howard making the boast in his same little brown jacket that he wore with Fallout 76. You're going to have over 100 systems with over 1,000 planets to play around with that you can land on and that you can, you know, discover. And, like, my jaw kind of dropped when I heard that. I was just like, really? Because as amazing as No Man's Sky's 18 quintillion worlds are, which is amazing, I'm not criticizing them at all on that, some of the planets kind of feel a little barren even to this day. Even with all the updates, it's like, okay, land on this planet, not really enjoying the vibe, and I know there's not a whole lot on here that's going to really keep me here, so I'll just go to the next planet. And so this kind of reminds me of Mass Effect Andromeda. When originally Mass Effect Andromeda, what they want to do, they want to have 100 procedurally generated planets you could land on. And they couldn't get to work on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, so they revamped and just made the couple of open world maps for each planet that you could go to. And so that kind of like hope that we would get that Mass Effect kind of died with that, which was unfortunate because that would be really cool. And now Starfield is doing the same thing, saying you're going to have not 100 but 1,000 planets you can land on. And like the planet with that city you saw in the demo, apparently you could go anywhere on that planet and land. I'm dubious about that. I'm curious if it's just a map that they're saying is the entire planet, or if they're actually giving you an entire fucking planet to explore 1,000 times over. Now, obviously, they're going to be using some procedural generation, but a lot of these planets that they've been showing look really nice. And so this gets me to the title of the video that, yeah, Starfield might very well be a system seller for Xbox, like Gears of War was, like Halo was for the original Xbox system. Like, okay, they didn't really have a system seller on the Xbox One, but Gears of War was kind of that killer app on the 360, and then Halo was the killer app on the original Xbox. And so with this Xbox, I'm thinking like probably the killer app is probably going to be Starfield. Now look, Starfield might crash and burn on launch like Fallout 76, okay? I'm not someone who will just naively, blindly say Bethesda can do no wrong. Bethesda has done a lot of wrong. But if this isn't bullshit, this could be something that gets a lot of Xbox Series X's into people's homes. Honestly, I was playing around with the idea of like not getting Xbox Series X because, you know, like I could do most everything I need to with my PS5, but now that I saw that demo for Starfield, it's like, I already have No Man's Sky, but 1,000 planets built by Bethesda would be kind of neat. Anyway, that's been my thoughts on the new reveal of Starfield. I'm thinking that this could be a pretty big deal if it's not another mess like Fallout 76. And so, my name's Chris Crown with 11 Hour Reviews. Don't forget to, do the thing. And that will be all.